Hey guys, Sean C. Phillips here, and I'm here to do a new collection series on my favorite zombie films. Now, I did one of these years back, I think maybe 2008. I'm going to try to talk, more about the titles a little bit, and I know I've added a few more, and I'm sure I forgot some, but, these are some of the ones that came to my mind when I was looking through all the ones that are ones that I really like, and some are better than others. Now, the first one, you could, in some ways, say it's not totally a zombie movie. That's the thing with zombie films, is they can kind of be interpreted is if they're more like an infected or if they're technically zombie. But 28 Days Later, I really like. Now, the sequel, 28 Weeks Later, it's good. I just didn't like it as much. I really didn't get into it as much as I did with this movie. The first one was pretty much shot with like consumer cameras, and it gave it that kind of cool vibe to it. It was Cillian Murphy, I think that's how you say his name, and Danny Boyle's film. I love the movie. The basic concept, though, is he wakes up, he's in the hospital, wakes up, with all the tubes and stuff to him, and there's nobody in the hospital. And basically, he goes out into the world, and there's nobody there, and then there's the zombies, and the whole thing, the whole music, everything really worked in this one. The sequel, like I said, it's okay. I just didn't love it. Now, this one was a pretty cool zombie film called Biozombie. And it's actually one of the few movies, too, where the dubbing, I actually recommend watching as the dubbing, because the people they had do it are kind of like doing like Bill and Ted kind of voices, like surfer 90s and 80s dudes. It's kind of funny. But, it's really cool. And if you like, malls, and it's a real different type of mall. I absolutely really like this one a lot. Hopefully they put out a Blu-ray of it at some point. Now, the next one is a Rupert Everett film, Cemetery Man, and that was a movie with him working at the cemetery. And I think I can't remember all the details. He works there, I think, with his brother or this guy, who's the guy who was from City of Lost Children, the fat guy in City of Lost Children with the thing on his eye. And he basically falls in love with like a severed head, and I think everything comes back to life, and it's crazy. There's all these kids on like a bus that comes back to life. It's a really creepy, strange film. Definitely worth watching, though. I think it might be out of print. I'm not sure. It's also called Dellamorte, Dellamore. Now, this one is... I enjoyed it. I don't know if you technically would call it zombie, and it's the Crazies remake. I thought it was pretty well done. This one, I hope they put out a Blu-ray of it at some point. It's Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Now, there was a new DVD that came out years back, right before the director passed away. I was so upset when that happened. The director got hit by the drunk driver. I was really looking forward to, Bob Clark's, because Bob Clark was going to do a remake of Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and he was just about to shoot. And I was so looking forward to that, and he had all these movies, because he hadn't worked for a while before, and he was really going to make a comeback with horror movies, and I was really looking forward to it. So that really sucked. But I've actually seen the graveyard where this was filmed, so that was pretty cool. I drove by it when I was in Florida doing the Girls Gone Dead movie, but it was kind of cool to see the cemetery. But this one was about a group of these kind of like actor characters that were out in the cemetery, and they end up digging up someone and kind of just sort of sitting around with them, and then they end up saying the spell, and then they end up bringing back the entire graveyard. And it is really, it's a really low budget, but really cool, strange movie. It's, like I said, I hope at some point they put out a new DVD. The DVD, though, that was out, as far as I remember, it had some kind of a flaw to it, and they all got recalled and they didn't work. So I don't know if anybody has that. Let me know if they work. This was not amazing. It's cheesy, and it's Children Shouldn't Play. The dead hate the living. And I don't know if I just like this because I, act in movies, and that's basically what it's about, is a group of actors that, they're making this low-budget movie in this old hospital, and they don't have permission to be there, and they end up in there with all these zombies. I don't know, it was fun. And, of course, Dead Alive, a.k.a. Brain Dead, and, that's Peter Jackson's one of his, I think it might have been his second or third film. I really love the early stuff. Hopefully at some point he does another R-rated horror movie, but I don't know if he ever will again. Of course, you can't not have Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead. I haven't watched Survival of the Dead. I need to watch it. Everyone said how bad it was, or they didn't really like it. So many people said they disliked it. But with Dawn of the Dead, basically, if you haven't seen it, you've got to watch it. I know a lot of people, have some younger people are like, I'm just going to watch the remake over it. You got to watch the original. I know to some people it may seem a little dated or things like that. I don't know. I absolutely love, those 70s movies, and I love the setting, in the mall. And it's basically, the characters are in the mall trying to survive, and they basically stir up their whole life and in the over in the mall. I really like this, and it's got so many cool touches. You look at the mall, you see like closed Sundays. It's just like touches about the 70s and stuff. It was just kind of cool to see, and seeing these stores that don't even exist anymore. Now, Day of the Dead. I've always kind of liked Day of the Dead a little bit better than Dawn of the Dead. For some reason, I've always really liked it. I really loved the whole idea, though, is a group of scientists and army men and like soldiers and things like that underground trying to basically find a cure for it and yet basically protect things and things like that. And I love how George Romero was basically able to make it almost like society is now, and like with 12 people, and how everything wrong with it almost became down there, and how they were destroying it and all starting to hate each other and being so horrible to each other, and it was so well done, and so the characters in it are really cool, especially Captain Rhodes and the one character who's like flies the plane. He's like, you got your tax returns and your paper, the 200 tombstone. I don't know, everything about it. I love that one. The next one, Land of the Dead, definitely worth watching. It was technically, I think it's really George Romero's first really big studio film. And I don't know, I thought it was pretty good. I don't absolutely love it, but it really is pretty cool. Then he went and did Dire of the Dead, and this had a lot of people were giving it kind of crap because Cloverfield came out around the same time. No, this came out after Cloverfield. It was shot way before, but it kind of was lumped in with everybody with Cloverfield because it was done as the found footage. I don't know. I really did like this. And the Dawn of the Dead remake, I liked the Dawn of the Dead remake. I thought it was very well done. Not as cool. Ving Rhames is always good, so I like that. The Dead Pit, this was another really weird one. I think it was in a hospital, and I think the doctor kind of like walled himself into a room. And I remember a scene with a water tower. Never can explain that one well. The Dead Girl, which is really pretty cool one about these kids that are going into an old abandoned asylum. They find this tied up zombie woman, and they basically are sleeping with her. She's tied up, and they basically bring all their friends. Their friends pay to sleep with her, and it's a pretty creepy, weird movie. And the writer of this was Trent Haga, who does all the stuff, acts in a lot of the Troma films and things like that. Now, this is one of the few zombie adult films, Erotic Nights of the Living Dead. This one's out of print and hard to find. But this is a pretty good, weird one. Has good music in it, too. Some really weird sequences. It's definitely, though, an 18 and up movie. There's a cut version of it, too, that's out. But if you want a zombie adult film from the 80s, that's a pretty good one. I think it's the guy who did Troll 2, or one of the same people. Now, Flight of the Living Dead, this one wasn't amazing. It was fun. It was basically zombies on a plane. I didn't love it, but it was definitely, I just sort of wanted to show it. I wouldn't say it's the best, though. Fido, this was kind of cool when all the zombies were used as kind of like maids and to do everything that people didn't want to do. And, they basically put a thing on their neck and forced them to, help around the house and do the chores and everything. But in this, they end up becoming friends with the character. He's kind of like Bub in Day of the Dead. Now, this was a really cheesy Malcolm McDowell movie. I don't think many people remember this. Island of the Dead. And there's some really cool sequences with him walking around this island and like talking to himself about stuff. Now, I don't know, I always remember that sequence of him just sort of walking around, and I think it was like on like an island where something nuclear happened. So it's him walking around with all these zombies and stuff. I don't know. I just love those sequences of him walking around, and it was kind of cool. I liked it. Now, of course, this is kind of considered zombie, at the same time, not exactly. because it's Night of the Comet, and basically a big comet comes, and everybody that is outside watching it basically turns to dust. Some people who get like a low exposure to it become these weird, deformed, dehydrated zombie crazy characters, and the main character though was in a movie theater projection room, so she didn't get exposed. The other one was in a garden shed, so she didn't get exposed. So basically, it's them in the world, and it's a really cool 80s movie. If you haven't seen this one, it has really, really good music. It's one of those kind of movies, too, where you can watch it and then probably watch it again right after this. There's some movies like that, you can just watch it and watch it again. This is one of those ones, really fun movie. Definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it. And now, Night of the Living Dead, this is the Tom Savini version. I really like this version of it. I have the George Romero Night of the Living Dead. I always like this one a little bit better. I have the one, it's in one of those, I have so many of those packs that have it. I think there's a Blu-ray of it at some point, the George Romero one that I have to get. But this was a fun one. A lot of people get confused because it says George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, and they think that this is his one, but this is the Savini one. So there's a lot of confusion with that. Night of the Living Dead 3D, I couldn't even watch this because the 3D gave me such a headache. It's the old red and blue. I can't watch them. So I have never even gotten to watch that. I have to buy the non-3D one. And of course the Pet Sematary movies about the character that, the son gets hit by the car, and, the Herman Monster character, who's amazing. Fred Gwynne. I absolutely love that actor. He basically is like, well, behind there's the front. And I know that sounds a little bit like the old man in Pawn Stars, Chumley. Well, basically, though, he ends up telling him about when the son's killed, tells him about this Indian burial ground. And they basically rebury the son. They bury the son back in there, and he comes back to life, and it's bad. What happens. And I like Pet Sematary 2 with Eddie Furlong. I really, really like this. And Clancy Brown, who is in Carnival, and, the voice of Mr. What's the name from Krabby? The one from SpongeBob, and he's done so many movies. He's in this. This is really cool. And the ending it's a really cool ending to it, too. These are considered, I guess you would consider these zombie movies. Quarantine, the found footage one, and I really liked Quarantine 2. I liked it was in an airport terminal, and I don't know if they're ever going to put a Blu-ray of it out in America, but it was definitely good. Now the next one is Rabbit Grannies. Now I know, it actually is from Blowout Video. Now some people always say, oh, there's one of them in San Diego. No, it's a rental store. Not the same Blowout Video, it's a different one. This Blowout Video was basically all movies and just for sale. But this is a cool trauma movie. This is one of their early releases. But it's like it's a French film, these French grandmother that are zombies. It's pretty cool. And of course, Reanimator. I have the newer version, but I like this case the best. Because it's the green. It's like only one of the few ever green released DVD cases. And, this is basically the movie where he brings back the woman. I can't remember all the details. Of course, now this is one of the best ones. Return of the Living Dead, the original. This is absolutely must-see. If you haven't seen it, it's like one you just have to pretty much just order it now. And it's basically a group of these. It's an 80s film about, a bunch of these people are out partying in the graveyard. And the one character ends up getting a job at this medical supply warehouse. And the one guy's like, he says to him, what's the weirdest thing you ever seen here? Tells him about these canisters with dead people in them. So they're down there dicking around and end up they basically go, oh, these things are strong, nothing will happen. So he ends up hitting them, letting out the chemical, and then basically things go very wrong. And the whole area is full of zombies, and definitely one of the best if you haven't seen it. Now the sequels, the second one, the music has changed in this. So be aware that if you want to hear it with the correct music, you have to watch the Spanish version, and the I think it's the Spanish or French version, is the only way you can hear the correct music in it. And Return of the Living Dead 3, I know they just put out a new set with the third one, and then those crappy sequels 4 and 5, which I've got. They're not any good though. I don't know if that new set has the uncut version of this. Hopefully at some point they put out, which I don't think they will, a uncensored version. The next one, Shockwaves, cool one about it's kind of like Nazi zombies that come and take over this island. Pretty cool one. Let's see what else there is. I think the last two ones are Zombieland. This is a newer one, which is one of the, biggest zombie movies in the last few years that kind of brought back the whole zombie thing again. And, it's like the whole world is taken over by zombies, and it's done comical, which was fun. And then, of course, Zombie, which, if you haven't seen that, it's another one you've got to see. The zombies all on the island. Really good one, Lucio Fulci. And, the other zombie movies, 3, 4, and 4, they're okay. Nothing amazing. Anyway, though, those are some of my favorite zombie films. And like I said, some of them are better than others, but some I just sort of wanted to show. But anyway, though, thanks a lot for watching and for subscribing. Look forward to hearing what you guys think. And let me know what other kind of collections you'd like to see me do. Anyway, though, I'll see you guys later.